The signal that shouldn't exist. The discovery. Maya-chan wasn't supposed to be working the night shift at Frontier Station 7. She had traded shifts with Rodriguez because he wanted to attend his daughter's birthday party back on Mars. Now, staring at her monitoring screen at 3 in the morning, she wondered if fate had other plans. The signal appeared like a whisper in the void. Not the usual chatter of colony transmissions or merchant vessels. This was different, ancient, repeating, desperate. Maya leaned forward, her coffee forgotten as she isolated the frequency. The pattern was unmistakable. It was a distress beacon, but the encryption signature made her breath catch in her throat. "That's impossible," she whispered to the empty control room. The beacon used protocols from the Genesis fleet, humanity's first wave of colony ships that had launched over 300 years ago. Every ship from that fleet had been accounted for. Every single one. Or so the history books claimed. Maya's fingers flew across her console, triangulating the source. The coordinates pointed to a region called the Whisper Nebula, a dense cloud of cosmic dust and radiation that had been marked as navigational hazard for decades. No one went there. No reason to. Until now. Making the choice. She should have reported it immediately. Protocol demanded she contact her supervisor, file an official report, and let the proper authorities investigate. But Maya had spent 15 years working frontier stations, watching bureaucracy turn urgent matters into years-long investigations. If there was someone out there still alive after 3 centuries, they didn't have time for committee meetings. Maya pulled up the duty roster. The cargo hauler Steadfast was docked at the station, its captain, a grizzled veteran named James Park, known for taking odd jobs. She had worked with him before. He was reliable, discreet, and most importantly, he asked the right questions instead of the wrong ones. 20 minutes later, she was in Park's cramped ship quarters, playing him the signal recording. "You're certain about this?" Park asked, his weathered face serious. "The encryption is authentic. I verified it against 3 separate historical databases. Captain, if there's even a chance someone survived out there." Park rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. "The Whisper Nebula isn't just dangerous. It's deadly. Radiation levels, gravitational anomalies, debris fields. My ship isn't exactly military grade." "Your ship has better shielding than anything else docked here right now," Maya countered. "And I've already calculated a safe approach vector. We can do this." "We?" Park raised an eyebrow. "I found it. I'm coming." Into the Whisper. The journey took 4 days. Park's ship, despite its worn exterior, handled the nebula's edge currents with surprising grace. Maya spent most of the time analyzing the beacon signal, finding patterns within patterns. Whoever had programmed this hadn't just sent a distress call. They had embedded a story. "Listen to this," she told Park on the 3rd day, routing the decoded message through the ship speakers. A voice emerged, human but strange, as if the speaker had forgotten how people talked. "Cycle 7943. Maintenance complete. All systems, nominal. Waiting for relief crew. Genesis protocol remains in effect. I am, still here. Still waiting." Park's knuckles whitened on the control stick. 7,000 cycles? How long is a cycle? Based on the timestamps in the signal, roughly 16 days, Maya calculated. "Captain, that means 348 years. Someone's been alone out there for 348 years. The weight of that number hung in the cabin like a physical presence. No human could survive that long. But the message clearly came from a human voice, speaking human words, following human protocols. "There," Park said suddenly, pointing at the view screen. Through the swirling cosmic dust, a structure emerged. It was massive, a cylinder 10 kilometers long, rotating slowly. The hull was scarred by centuries of micrometeorite impacts, but intact. Running lights still blinked along its surface in a steady, patient rhythm. Genesis Colony Ship Covenant, Maya breathed, reading the faded designation on the hull. She was supposed to reach the Centauri cluster. That's 1,500 light-years from here. Then what's she doing in the Whisper Nebula? They found their answer in the ship's logs once they docked. The Covenant's faster-than-light drive had catastrophically failed mid-jump, stranding the ship in real space far from its destination. The crew had done everything right, sent distress calls, rationed supplies, maintained hope. But help never came. 300 years ago, the frontier was even more sparse than today. The Covenant had simply fallen through the cracks. The Keeper. Maya and Park moved through corridors that hadn't felt footsteps in centuries. Emergency lighting cast everything in pale blue. Life support worked perfectly. Temperature, atmosphere, even humidity, all maintained at optimal levels. Someone had kept this ship alive. They found him in the central maintenance bay. At first, Maya thought it was a statue. The man stood motionless before a massive control panel, his hand resting on a lever, his eyes focused on readouts that glowed with steady data streams. He wore a maintenance technician's uniform, faded but clean. His name tag read Samuel Torres. Samuel? Maya called softly. The man didn't move. Didn't blink. For a terrifying moment, she thought they were too late. Then she saw it, the faint rise and fall of his chest. The slight movement of his eyes tracking data. He was alive, but somehow, not present. Park reached out to touch his shoulder, but Maya grabbed his wrist. Wait. Look. Fine cables ran from ports behind Samuel's ears into the maintenance panel. A neural interface, an old design, primitive by modern standards. But effective. Samuel wasn't standing at the console. He was merged with it. Maya examined the setup carefully. He's connected to the ship's systems. Has been 4 centuries, probably. Captain, I think he put himself into the maintenance cycle intentionally. Became part of the ship to keep it running when the automated systems started failing. Can we disconnect him? Park asked. I don't know. His neural patterns might have integrated with the ship's computer. Separating them could kill him. Or it might kill the ship. Maybe both. Maya studied the console readouts. Every system on the Covenant was functioning because Samuel was manually operating them, had been operating them through direct neural interface for longer than most civilizations lasted. His mind had become the ship's mind, his consciousness distributed across kilometers of circuits and processors. Samuel, she tried again, speaking clearly. My name is Maya Chen. We received your beacon. We're here to help you. To take you home. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the lights in the bay flickered. The console displays rippled. And Samuel's eyes, those ancient, patient eyes, focused on her for the first time. When he spoke, his voice emerged from both his lips and the ship speakers simultaneously, a chorus of one. Home, he said, the word carrying the weight of 3 centuries of longing. I remember home. The mind that became a ship. Awakening. Samuel Torres remembered everything and nothing. He remembered his first day aboard the Covenant, young and eager, ready to help humanity reach the stars. He remembered the catastrophic drive failure, the chaos, the desperate weeks that followed. He remembered the day the last crew member died, leaving him alone with 2,000 colonists in suspended animation, colonists whose cryopods he had to maintain, whose dreams of a new world depended on systems that were failing one by one. And he remembered the choice he made. The neural interface was meant for emergency repairs only, Samuel's voice chorus explained as Maya and Park worked to safely bring him back to awareness. Direct connection. Human intuition paired with computer precision. Supposed to last hours. Days at most. But you stayed connected, Maya said, carefully monitoring his vital signs. 4 centuries. The automated systems were failing. I tried to fix them, but there were too many problems, too few spare parts. Every day something new broke down. I realized the only way to keep everyone alive was to become the system myself. To think like the ship, process like the ship, maintain like the ship. Park studied the neural interface with a mix of horror and awe. The brain damage alone should have killed you. Samuel's physical form smiled, though his eyes remained distant. The medical bay kept me alive. I programmed it to repair my body while my mind handled the ship. I've died 17 times, Captain. Heart failure. Neural burnout. Organ failure. Each time, the automated medical systems brought me back, and I reconnected. Because the colonists needed me. The ship needed me. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. You've been dying and resurrecting for 300 years to keep strangers alive? Not strangers, Samuel corrected gently. Family. The crew was my family. When they died, the colonists became my family. I knew every name. Read every bio. Watched their dreams through the cryopod monitors. I couldn't let them down. The dilemma. 3 days later, Maya faced the hardest decision of her life. They had successfully stabilized Samuel's condition, bringing his consciousness back to primarily his biological brain while keeping minimal connection to the ship. He could speak normally now, walk around, remember who he was before he became something more. But there was a problem. The colonists' cryopods are failing, Samuel explained, his voice now purely human, no longer echoing through speakers. They've exceeded their design limits by 2 centuries. If we wake them now, the shock might kill them. If we don't wake them soon, the systems will fail completely. How long do we have? Park asked. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. Maya ran calculations on her portable unit. It'll take 6 weeks minimum to get a proper rescue ship here with the right equipment. The Steadfast can't carry 2,000 people, and the cryopods can't be safely moved. Then they'll die, Samuel said quietly. After everything, they'll die anyway. No. Maya stood up, determination hardening her features. No, there has to be a way. Samuel, when you were connected to the ship, you could control everything, right? Every system? Yes, but I can't reconnect. My neural tissue is too damaged. Another interface session would kill me permanently, and even the medical systems couldn't bring me back. What if you weren't alone? Maya asked. What if someone else shared the load? The cabin fell silent. You can't be serious, Park said. Maya, you saw what it did to him. 300 years of torture. 3 weeks isn't 300 years, Maya countered. Samuel, if we interface together, share the neural load between us, could we keep the system stable long enough for rescue? Samuel studied her with eyes that had seen centuries. Theoretically, yes. The interface can split consciousness across multiple users. But Maya, you'd be feeling everything I felt. The ship's pain becomes your pain. System failures feel like losing limbs. When something breaks, you break. For 3 weeks, you'd exist in a state between human and machine. But the colonists would live. Yes. Maya looked at Park, who shook his head in disbelief. You're actually going to do this? Call it in, she told him. Contact Frontier Station 7. Tell them we need a full rescue fleet with advanced medical support and cryopod transport. Tell them to get here in 3 weeks, not 6. I don't care what they have to do. Park grabbed her shoulders. Maya. These people deserve a chance, Captain. Samuel gave them 300 years. I can give them 3 weeks. Becoming more. The neural interface was cold against Maya's skin. Samuel talked her through the connection process, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes, fear not for himself, but for her. The first moments are the hardest, he warned. You'll feel the ship in ways you can't imagine. Every sensor becomes a sense. Every circuit becomes a nerve. Just remember, you're still human. The ship is the tool. You are the mind. Maya nodded and activated the interface. The universe exploded into sensation. She was the Covenant. She felt solar radiation warming her hull plates. Tasted cosmic dust in her filtering systems. Heard the whisper of life support through kilometers of ducts. The cryopods pulsed like heartbeats, 2,000 hearts she had to keep beating. Power flowed through her like blood. Data streamed through her like thoughts. And the damage. She felt every scar, every failing system, every weakness that 3 centuries had carved into the ship's structure. It hurt. It hurt so much. I'm here, Samuel's voice came through the connection, his presence a steady anchor in the storm. You're not alone, Maya. We'll carry this together. Together, they worked. Maya's fresh perspective caught problems Samuel had grown too familiar with to notice. Samuel's centuries of experience guided her through crisis after crisis. They became a partnership, 2 minds thinking as one, human intuition and machine precision in perfect harmony. Time became strange. Hours felt like days. Days felt like minutes. Maya lost track of her body, existing as pure consciousness distributed across the ship's systems. She understood now what Samuel had become, not human, not machine, but something that transcended both. The rescue. Park's voice through the communication system felt like a whisper from another world. Maya, the rescue fleet is here. 2 weeks and 4 days. They moved heaven and earth to make it. 2 weeks? It had felt like years. The rescue operation was a marvel of coordination. Medical teams worked on Samuel, preparing him for the delicate disconnection process. Engineering teams began carefully transferring colonists to modern cryopods on the rescue ships. And through it all, Maya held the Covenant together, keeping systems running, maintaining life support, ensuring every precious life survived the transfer. On the final day, as the last colonist was moved to safety, Maya felt Samuel's presence in the shared consciousness. Thank you, he said. For 3 centuries, I thought I would die alone with them. That no one would know what we tried to do here. But you came. You finished what I started. We finished it together, Maya replied through the neural link. Then let's go home. The disconnection process was gradual, carefully managed by medical teams. Maya felt herself pulling away from the ship, consciousness condensing back into her biological brain. The vastness faded. The ship's senses dimmed. She became singular again, limited again. Human again. Epilogue, Legacy. 6 months later, Maya stood before the Galactic Council on Earth. The Covenant floated in orbit above them, transformed into a museum, a monument to one man's impossible dedication and humanity's capacity for sacrifice. Samuel Torres maintained life support for 2,000 colonists for 348 years, she told the assembled representatives. He died and was resurrected 17 times. He merged his consciousness with a failing ship to become its heart and mind. And when we finally found him, he only cared about whether we could save them. She paused, letting the weight of that sink in. The colonists are awake now. They're adapting to modern life, contributing to our civilization. 2,000 people who should have died before our grandparents were born now have futures. Children are being born. Lives are being lived. All because one maintenance technician refused to give up. And you, Ms. Chen, one council member asked. What did you learn from your 2 weeks in the neural interface? Maya smiled, remembering the vastness, the connection, the transcendent beauty of existing as both human and something more. I learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our stubborn refusal to abandon each other. Samuel could have saved himself. He could have taken an escape pod and left. But he stayed. And when I found him, I stayed too. Because that's what humans do. She looked up at the Covenant, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. We don't leave family behind. Even if family means strangers in cryopods. Even if it costs us centuries. Even if it means becoming something more than human to save humanity itself. That, she concluded, is why we'll survive among the stars. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because when it matters most, we choose to care. The council chamber erupted in applause. But Maya's eyes stayed on the Covenant, where Samuel Torres, finally resting, finally healing, would spend the remainder of his life giving tours to visitors who needed to understand what sacrifice truly meant. And in the maintenance bay, on a plaque beside the neural interface that had sustained 2,000 lives across 3 centuries, new words were inscribed. Here stood Samuel Torres, who became a ship to save humanity. Here worked Maya Chen, who shared his burden. Here we remember, no one is alone while others still care.